Hello, welcome to the Sober Mindset training day 1. If you're watching the recording, we're just getting ready to get started. People are joining as I speak. So let me make sure. Yeah. So if you are joining, please say hello in the chat. I'm just thinking I'm making sure that the chat is set up. Just make sure you do the drop down menu so that so everybody can see. Yeah, if you do the drop down menu and just change it to everyone. Hey Heather, so everybody can see your what you post. Say hello and let me know where you are in the world, because we have people all over the world. It's fabulous. I just like to see, we've got Texas already, we've got Colorado, we've got Canada, we've got New York. Good to see. Oh, Kim, hi. Canada, London, UK, Carlisle in the UK. I actually did wonder if anyone from the UK would show up today, but I guess all of the Queen's ceremony is done now. And we're going to get started in just a second. You should have all received a workbook with your registration. You may want to bring that up or print it off. If not, don't worry. If you've got a pen and paper, that's all you're going to need. And I'm just going to give people a minute to get started, because it does take people just a little bit in the first couple of times to find the link and all of that kind of stuff. So we've got people in Vancouver, Canada, Tennessee, Missouri, Maryland, San Diego, Yorkshire. You can't go wrong with the Yorkshire lass. Sue is a Londoner in the Netherlands. Wow. And tell me why you are here today. Why did you sign up for this training? Who's done a training with me before? Who's read my book? And I hope I'm pronouncing this right. Is it Sean from Spain? I might not be. Cyan from Spain. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that incorrectly. Dawn in Sussex there. Hey, Dawn. Erin has completed a trouble with sobriety, completed a previous training. Sean, thank you. Michelle's read the book. Yeah. I always liked people to have really checked me out, done some really good due diligence and kind of checked out my stuff and all those kind of things. So make sure that you do go before you type a message in the drop down menu, click the little thing so it changes to everyone. I don't know why Zoom does this. I find this a bit annoying because otherwise only I can see your message and everybody else can't. So just make sure that you're changing the drop down message to everybody, and then everybody can see the what you write. And there's a lot of messages. I'm only going to just look at. I'm going to just look at them, and I'm going to start in just a second. Okay, Sue's got the book on order. Great. Listening to the podcast. Oh, thank you, Peter. Peter said, I think your latest book is the best of the quickly that I've read, Veronica. Concise, clear, compassionate, so relevant. Thank you, Peter. You can go to the top of the class there. And make sure you change before you write a comment, make sure it's saying to everyone. Otherwise, I'm the only person who can see it. Peter, I'm the only person who could see. That's why I read it out. Laurie's read the book and attended some sessions. Okay, Sue's got 6 months before, but I really want to stick and be permanent. Sue, I promise by the end of this week, you will know exactly how to make your sobriety permanent. Okay, so if you're just joining, let us know where you're from. Let us know why you're here, and we will go and get started in just a second. So this is my flagship free training. I do it once a year. So it's usually in September. It's really everything that I know about sobriety, mindset, transformation in 1 week. We're going to do about an hour a day. To change your life, you have to change your story. So in this 5-part training, I'm going to teach you how you can shift your mindset from someone who thinks they need to drink to someone who loves being sober, and so much more. You are going to learn, this isn't just about being sober. This is about transformation. It's about life change. It's about becoming the person that you are meant to be. It is so much more than not drinking, so much more. And if you only ever settle for just not drinking alcohol and not doing this kind of work, you're missing out on so much that's offered here. So I'm going to create a safe space for you here. I want you, number one, to know that I am qualified and experienced to deliver this material. Please check out my qualifications. They're on my website, veronicavalley.com. I think they're in the About section. There is, if you are online on Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff, there is tons of offerings to help people get sober. That can be a good thing. I think it's great people are sharing their stories. But there are lots of people who are not qualified and have no experience, and it's all marketing. So please, before you spend any money or work with anyone or do any free training, make sure those people have some qualifications in this area. So we're going to get to the core of why you drink the way you do, why your life is the way it is, and how to change it. And what I'm going to teach over 5 days is the work that I have done. This is how I have changed. It is, the next 5 days are very in-depth. They are life-changing and revolutionary. And I do not use those words lightly. You can see from all the testimonials that we have from different trainings that this is the real deal. So please give me your full attention. This is not something to do half-assed. If you're not giving this your full attention, it's because you're not prioritizing yourself and your well-being. And if you're not prepared to do that, then I can't help you. So give yourself the time and space to take this in. Now, good news is if you show up live, you are eligible to win prizes. And we have some great prizes at the end of the week. So at the end of each training, I'm going to give you a homework question. The homework question is going to be in the Facebook group, the Soberful Facebook group. Now, the reason, I'm sorry if you're not on Facebook, and I'm sorry, I mean, you can still join the group, but the reason for that is there's a lot of moving parts to managing this 5 days, and it's just the easiest place for us to manage that. So I apologize if you're not on Facebook, but that's just how we manage it because it's just the easiest way for us to do it. So at the end of the training, there will be a post that comes up with the homework question. Post your answer in that post. And then we use those answers to pick a winner for different prizes at the end of the week. One of the prizes is a free place to my 6-month sober mindset program. Don't put your answers anywhere else. Don't email them to me. Don't message me. Don't do a separate post. Only do them in the post that comes up. You'll see it has a picture, homework, all of that kind of stuff. And you can just do the homework just for your own benefit. It will make you think. So you are here for a reason. You are here because you are ready to change. The people who find me are the people who are ready to do what's necessary to get the life they want. I was not prepared to settle for a 50% life, and I don't think that you are either. So tell me, why are you here today? I'm just going to look at the chat. Why are you here today? Why did you show up for yourself today? What needs to change? And make sure you've changed your little drop-down thing to everybody. yeah, the only kind of conversation is going to take place in the chat. Why are you? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. To get free of emotional triggers, I want to live a full life without alcohol. All those things are possible. Okay, so in order to get the most out of this program, commit to the transformation and show up and be present. If you complete all 5 days, I can promise you one thing. I will show you a different way to live and get what you want. And I will mess up your drinking. One thing I guarantee, even just in my free trainings, let alone the paid programs I run, I will mess up your drinking because you won't be able to unknow what I'm going to teach you. So if you would like to have your drinking messed up, then you're in the right place. So I'm going to open a door and it's up to you whether you walk through or not. Okay, a little bit of housekeeping before we dive into the material. There are replays. So if you do miss a day, you'll get a replay via email as soon as we've uploaded and done all that. And the replays are available for about 10 days. You have about 10 days to watch those. Print off your workbook and make notes as you go along. If you don't have your workbook, that's fine. Just make notes as we have. That's just going to help you kind of absorb what I'm teaching because there's quite a lot of content here. I mentioned about the homework. You need to post that in the Facebook group within 24 hours of the day one training. There's a homework each day. Apologies if you're not in Facebook, but that's just the best. That's the only way that we can manage all of the things we have to manage. We're only a small team. So my whole program is about learning and taking action. We want to take, it's the action that changes us. You may get triggered this week. We will uncover some stuff. And being triggered is an invitation to increase your self-awareness and your growth. If you want incredible sobriety, you can't stay where you are now. Being triggered is an invitation to move beyond where you are now. And I think everybody here wants to move beyond where they are now. So you are in a safe place here with me. Like I said, I'm qualified to deliver this. Take care of yourself. Support yourself. Ask questions. We are not here to stay away from a drink one day at a time. You are not here to just survive your life. This is the work I have done that has transformed my sobriety and my life. So over the next 5 days, this is what we're going to do. Today, I'm going to teach you about how your subconscious mind works. All the answers are in your subconscious mind. That is what we're going to learn today. Tomorrow, Tuesday, we're going to learn about how you are stuck in your story and how to get unstuck. Wednesday, we're going to learn about when we change our mindset. So when we change basically what we think, our whole lives transform. That has been my experience. Thursday, we're going to learn how to reprogram our thinking so we can succeed at anything. And on Friday, we're going to talk about how to get a sober mindset. Okay, if you didn't get the workbook, check your spam. Sometimes it ends up there. So this is not just a solution to drinking. It is a solution to everything in our life that we struggle with. So let's launch into the content. I still see people jumping on. Make sure you click the little, before you write a message, make sure you've clicked the blue drop down thing to everyone. Okay, so before we get started, I want to ask you, what kind of sober life do you want? What do you want a sober life to look like? That was kind of hard for me to get my head around because I just wanted to not suffer. Part of my story was really bad panic attacks. oh God, low self-esteem, anxiety, worthlessness. I just wanted to not feel like that anymore. It was kind of hard to imagine. I mean, if you'd have told me 22 years ago where I was today, I wouldn't have been able to take that in. But I just knew I wanted to be happy. I wanted to be free. I wanted to feel like the way I saw other people, I thought they were feeling. That was the kind of sober life that I wanted. I didn't want to miss my life. You know, that's the thing when we struggle with an alcohol problem, we are missing our lives. We are missing things that really matter. So we are going to be embarking on some serious content. This is a deep dive. I don't stay on the surface. I don't do fluff. This is the real deal. So this stuff is pretty deep. I don't do just quick fixes, 21-day resets, all of that kind of stuff. There's no such thing, by the way. It's 21-day reset. That's just marketing. Okay. What you are going to learn over the next 5 days will change your life, not just your sobriety. And we are starting with sobriety. We will talk about the mindset you need to live a sober life, but we're also going to be talking about transformation on every single level. We do not stay away from alcohol one day at a time. It's really important that this is the first thing you guys understand, that we don't just like eliminate alcohol and carry on as before. Oh, there's so much more than that on offer. It's about becoming who you're really meant to be. Who would like to do that, right? Become who you're really meant to be. It's about getting out of our own way and resolving core issues that led to you abusing alcohol and stepping up into your extraordinary life. And we do that by getting our bandwidth back. So here's the first thing to understand. When we struggle with an alcohol problem, we do 4 things. We drink, we think about drinking, we think about not drinking, and we recover from drinking. And I want to tell you, for me, the biggest indication of an alcohol problem is somebody who thinks about not drinking. That for me is the biggest indication that there's a struggle there. People who do dry January, people who stop for a bit for various different reasons, people who don't struggle with alcohol, they don't think about it. They just don't think about it. They think about alcohol in the same way I think about sandwiches. So I might, after this, it's lunchtime, I might have a sandwich for lunch. It's nice, enjoy it. Tomorrow I might have some soup. Day after I might have a salad. At the weekend, I might be at a party. Plate of sandwiches goes by. I think, oh, I'll have a couple of those, thank you. Plate of sandwiches goes by a bit later. I think, no, I'm good. That's literally how much I think about sandwiches. It's that alcohol rents space in our heads. And that is the indication of it's a problem. Now, when it rents space in our head, does everybody relate to that? That when you struggle with alcohol, you do those 4 things. You drink, think about drinking, think about not drinking, and recover from drinking. It's all in my book, by the way. All of this stuff is in my book. So that takes up bandwidth. Bandwidth is your energy and space to think thoughts. And we are spending a lot of our bandwidth on whether we are going to drink or not, or should I drink or not? Do I have a problem with drinking? Do other people think I have a problem with drinking? Oh my God, people, what a waste of freaking time and energy. What a waste. Imagine what you could do with your bandwidth if you weren't having that argument with yourself. Now, here's the thing. You may spend 20, 30, 40, 50% of your bandwidth on thinking about drinking, thinking about not drinking, blah, 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 blah. You can function quite well with 50, 60, 70% of bandwidth. You can have a job, a career, go to college, raise children, go on vacation. But what you cannot do is emotionally grow into the person that you are capable of being. Do not miss that. That's where you miss yourselves. It's in that bandwidth. So when you stop drinking, you get that bandwidth back. And when you get that bandwidth back, that is where your extraordinariness is. Does that make sense to everybody? That's where your extraordinariness is. So this is why there's so much more on offer here. than just not drinking. Does that make sense to everybody? Am I making sense so far? Because you didn't come here to waste your energy arguing with yourself about whether you're going to have a drink today or not. That's not how you should spend your time and energy. Who does that, by the way? So up until now, you didn't know what you didn't know. It's not your fault. We did the best we could under the circumstances. But today is an invitation to change. And it's our responsibility to change. Now, if we knew how to be sober and happy about being sober and comfortable in our own skin and emotionally stable, we would have already done it. So if you knew how to be alcohol-free and happy, you would have already done that. So the reason you haven't done that is because there's just a lot of stuff you didn't know. And that's a lot of stuff I'm going to teach you over the next 5 days. You didn't have the skills or the information that you needed. And that's really a lot of the stuff we're going to cover. You didn't know how to be in charge of your emotions, and you didn't know there was another way. When I was drinking, I felt like a little boat on the ocean with no rudder. I just was this kind of pushed this way and that way. If I felt something unpleasant, I would look for an external fix. If I felt disappointment, fear, rejection, resentment, anger, my brain looked for something outside of me to fix that. Usually alcohol, but drugs, men, sex, buying things, food, sugar. That was the only way I knew how to deal with what was inside of me. Who else relates to that? That they look for outside fixes to inside feelings. And that's why I just felt this little boat on the ocean. So I want you to know that you now have a choice, that you don't have to keep getting the results that you've been getting in your sobriety and in your life. Because when you change your mindset, your life will change. I have this life as a result of the internal changes that I am now going to teach you. We are going to go beyond sobriety to learn emotional sobriety. Oh, don't miss that. Emotional sobriety, emotional sobriety is when we feel comfortable in our own skins and have appropriate emotional responses to events. We're settling for way less than we deserve if we don't also reach for emotional sobriety. Because when we have emotional sobriety, which is just emotional mastery, we no longer default to alcohol to fix our feelings, meet our needs, or manufacture fun. We are masters of our internal world and our feelings. When we have emotional mastery, our brains no longer look for outside fixes to inside feelings. Does that make sense to everybody? I want to check as we go along, just to make sure that each part makes sense, because it all kind of builds on understanding that. Can you see how you've turned to alcohol to fix your feelings? I'm just going to have a quick look in the comments here. Yeah. Yeah. I want to feel comfortable with others when I am myself and not who I think they want me to be. That was big for me. All I cared about was what that other people liked me. It never occurred to me that I had to like me. Want to fit into my life. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, good. So we are going to take back your power by changing our mindset. So to understand how to change our mindset, we first have to understand how our subconscious mind works and how our thinking gets stuck in a fixed mindset. So the subconscious mind is responsible for 95% of what is happening in your life. When you understand that, you will stop working against yourself. And that's what's happening with a lot of you. You're working against yourself. So your conscious mind is only responsible for 5% of what happens in your day. And your conscious mind is the part that you're aware of. So it's all programming. And that's why willpower doesn't work to change anything. We have to change our programming. Willpower and getting sober, pointless. Don't even bother. Your programming in your subconscious mind is much more powerful. And we want to, if we change our program, it can work for us, not against us. So you have been working against yourself, and that is why you are struggling. You have a desire to be sober, to be different, to be happy, to be more fulfilled, but you keep sabotaging yourself, and that desire remains unfilled. Does that make sense, everybody? Can everyone see that pattern? That's the stop starting. Like I want, like I see these sober people like Veronica and whoever, and I want to feel like that. And we make the decision, but that we can't get there because we keep sabotaging ourselves. And that's because of our subconscious mind, the programming in our subconscious mind. Who keeps sabotaging their sobriety or the things that they want in their life? For me, that used to show up in my pattern of romantic relationships. I would keep getting the same thing over and over, which was rejection. I would meet someone, they'd think I was amazing, we would have this incredible thing, and then they would leave me. And it would happen over and over again. It was absolutely soul destroying. And I used to believe that happened because there was something wrong with me. Again, that's mindset. I just believed there was something wrong with me. I believed I wasn't good enough. I wasn't worthy of being loved. I wasn't thin enough, blah, blah, blah. Those are all limiting beliefs. We're going to talk about those, I think, on day 3. And so I kept getting what I believed I was worth. That was all in my subconscious mind. Changed that. I've been married for 12 years now with my husband for 16 years. Not because I met the one, because I changed my mindset and became the one. I became the kind of person I wanted to attract. Who here struggles with relationship stuff? That's a common one that comes up. So mindset work needs to be consistent. We don't dip in and out of this when we feel like it. We do it consistently, imperfectly. I've never done anything in my whole life perfectly. So it's our new way of life, a new way of being. So we are going to use proven strategies from psychology and research. The results come from this internal work. It's really important that you know that I did not show up like this. I know I've been sober a long time, 22 and a half years, thereabouts. I'm not lucky. I wasn't given things. I did not, this is not the person I was 22 and a half years ago. I put the effort in to working on myself. I made mistakes. I did it imperfectly. I did it messily. By bit, my life began to expand and I began to change. There's nothing different between you and me. And if I can do this, so can you. So let's dive into a bit further about the subconscious mind, because it's the kind of foundation of all of this work that we're going to do. And it's really essential that everybody knows how the subconscious mind and the conscious mind works, because it's just, the keys to freedom and really improving our lives. And also know that everybody has to do this work, not just you. Everybody on the planet has to do this work. We are the fortunate ones that we have been given this nudge because of our alcohol problem. So that's a mindset shift. It's not like, why does nobody else has to do these things? Actually, everybody has to do this kind of work on themselves. It's personal development work. You are the lucky one that you are here learning this stuff that you maybe otherwise wouldn't have known. So this is a gift. So our conscious mind, that's the 5%, is the part that we are aware of. It's where our thoughts are. And it's interested in the here and now. We think the conscious mind is big because we are aware of it, but it's nowhere near as big as the subconscious mind, which we're not aware of. The conscious mind is responsible for 5% of what happens in your life, and the subconscious mind is responsible for a whopping 95% of what happens to us. This is one of the most important life-changing facts you will ever learn. It's the key to everything. So those of you who've got your workbook, this is in your workbook. Our subconscious mind is responsible for 95% of what happens in my life. So if you don't have the workbook, write it down. My subconscious mind is responsible for 95% of what happens in my life. And this has major implications for our sobriety. Many things start in the conscious mind and then move into the subconscious mind. So the reason for that, it's more energy efficient. We are just taking in massive amount of data all the time and trying to make sense of it. And this is particularly key when we are children. We don't have, our brains aren't fully developed. So we're just absorbing from our environment as children. And things are going to move from consciously knowing about them to just being subconscious, that we're not aware and we don't think. And we have to do that because it's just more energy efficient. We wouldn't be able to get through our day otherwise. So we have to do things very consciously at first and bring our awareness to the things that we're doing. And then it just becomes in our subconscious mind. Example for this, I have a 7.5-year-old. And I remember when he was learning to write a couple of years ago, he'd stick his tongue out like that. And the getting his fingers in the right place, and then making writing his name. He was very, very conscious. He'd have to do his fingers every time, and then like he'd have it up here, and we'd have to move them down. That's how we learn everything, right? Now, when you write, none of us thinks, we don't think about it, it just happens. But we were all at a stage many years ago where we were consciously doing that. And that's why it takes up a lot of energy. Just writing out his name, Luke, took a lot of energy. It was a big thing. And eventually that, thank you, Carolyn. Eventually that all becomes that just becomes subconscious, and we don't even think about it. We just don't think about the how-to part. Learning to drive is another really good example of this, right? If you drive a car, when we learn to drive, we do it very consciously, and then eventually, and that takes effort and energy, and eventually goes into the subconscious mind, and we just drive. So when I go home to England, we drive on the other side of the road, and we usually have a stick shift, a manual. And for the first few days, I have to go back to being very conscious. I am always thinking about what side of the road I'm on, when I turn, which side of the road I turn onto. It's becoming conscious again, until usually at the end of my trip, I'm usually there 3 or 4 weeks. It goes back into my subconscious. It's really interesting that I would observe that. But so does everyone understand now how the conscious mind and the subconscious mind work, and how so much of it is in the subconscious mind? So the subconscious mind is absorbing data all the time about what it means to be us, and creating programs so our responses are automatic, meaning that we don't have to think about how to respond, we just do. And this is the part that is huge. So that's why a lot of it goes, because we don't, I've been driving for, I don't know how long, 30 years. I don't want to have to think about driving every day or holding a pencil, because I've got a bazillion other things to think about that need to happen. So we're taking in all of this data, and we're using it to create meaning. And a lot of the times we create belief systems about ourselves, the world, our place in the world. And all of that is stored in the subconscious mind. I remember when a while ago, when I was living in New York, the little road that we lived on, they were doing some road works. I think they were digging up something for about 12 weeks. And there was signs for about a month before, signs, blah, blah, you can't go down the road. I would say 9 times out of 10, after going to pick my kids up from school, I would drive home and I would go down the road that I couldn't drive down because they were digging it up, and be like, do a 3-point turn and have to go back the other way. The reason I did that was because of the programming. The route home from school was programmed in my subconscious mind. I didn't think about it until I was forced to. And we do that with so many things. So it's very handy when we are driving or when we're learning to drive, and then when that information's gone into our subconscious mind, it's very handy to have automatic program responses, right? It's very handy to not have to think about the route home or how to change gear or whatever, or if a car swerves in front of us, we have this automatic, we know how to slam the brake. It's very useful to do that. So there's lots of situations where it's useful to have these automatic pre-programmed responses to present events. But there's also a lot of times when it's not helpful. For example, if we had a parent who shouted a lot at us when we were kids, my mum was a shouter. And that when they shouted, we always felt like we were doing something wrong and it was our fault, and we would feel shame. And then we would begin to create a belief around that experience, that event, that feeling. So we begin to create a belief maybe that we're always messing up or getting it wrong or making mistakes. And that feeling and that belief gets buried in our subconscious mind. So 30 years later, you're a grown-ass adult. You've got letters after your name. You're well qualified and well experienced, and your boss shouts. You don't think, well, that's completely inappropriate. Instead, your subconscious mind goes, adult shouting at you. This thing is like that thing. And we instead get flooded with the feelings of shame and start thinking that our boss shouting at us must be our fault. Even though our conscious mind, our rational mind lives in our conscious mind, by the way, is saying, well, that's completely inappropriate that he's shouting at you. That's unacceptable behavior. That's going to get just completely washed away by the feelings that are generated in your body that you must have done something wrong. There must be you must have messed up. There must have, and that will just completely take over. So this is in your workbooks, write it down. Our subconscious mind tells our conscious mind that this present thing is like this past thing. Our subconscious mind tells our conscious mind, oh, this thing happening, it's just like this thing that happened 30 years ago. And then we respond in a pre-programmed way. Oh, it's like when mum used to shout, oh, the shame, oh my God, you must have messed up. All of that just happens. Our reaction to this present event is automatic and based on past events. And all of that information is in our subconscious mind and communicated to us by our ego. And we're going to be talking about how our ego works in the next couple of days. Our response to the cue, the thing that happens, is determined by our past. Does that make sense to everybody? I just want to make sure. Carolyn, my assistant, just posted the link for the workbook, just in case you didn't get it. And we will keep having these pre-programmed responses to the events around us for the rest of our lives until we know how to change them. And just knowing this is not enough. There's practices that we can use that will facilitate the change. So knowing it is the first step. So this is in your workbook, write it down. We will keep having pre-programmed responses to events until we change our programming. We will keep having pre-programmed responses to events until we change our programming. Now, who can recognize this in themselves and other people? Automatic pre-programmed responses. This is much easier to spot in other people than it is with ourselves. And this isn't to judge other people. It's just easier to spot this behavior in other people and know that you do it as well. So for example, my mother, I talk about my mother a lot in the paid program. She has a thing about electricity. And if she comes to visit me, and for instance, like if there's a plug socket that's a bit loose or cracked, I know my mother within 30 minutes of being in my house will be, you need to fix that. It's dangerous. You need to get that fixed. You need to make sure that gets fixed. I know 100% she's going to say that. She's always triggered by that, for example. So I always make sure they're covered up or fixed before she comes. Who can see that in other people, particularly parents, siblings, partners, people that you know very well? Who can see, like, if you say X, they're going to say Y. If you do A, they're going to do B. Guaranteed. That is because of their programming in their subconscious mind, and you have exactly the same thing. Make sense? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we find that we have these automatic predetermined reactions before we are really even aware. What makes this reaction very powerful is that we experience the subconscious mind's response in our bodies. We feel them as sensations, as emotions in our bodies. The body takes over, and our rational mind, which is that 5%, is just bulldoze it. Doesn't stand a chance. So your rational mind may be going, well, it's really inappropriate for my boss to be shouting. It doesn't matter. 95% has taken over. Your body's taken over. You're feeling the feelings, and it's triggering the thoughts about how you felt 30 years ago. It's just our programming. That's how it's going to be. So if we had a parent that shouted to us as a kid, our bodies would have been flooded with emotions. We would feel the sensations of shame, fear, abandonment, etc. And it's from these types of experiences that we form and reinforce limiting beliefs about ourselves. So that was formed as a child with the parent, but every time, if we're having this pre-programmed response, every time someone shouts at us when we're an adult, or what we're doing is we just keep confirming that feeling. Oh my God, I must have messed up. Oh my God. We have a reaction that's based on a child. We're in child. And so we just keep confirming these things about ourselves. And remember, the conscious mind, the rational part of your brain, doesn't stand a chance. So we have been responding to events in our present based on experiences that happened a long time ago, decades. Our past is showing up in our present in these intense emotional reactions. So I want you to understand that the subconscious mind works like your computer hard drive. It operates according to how it's programmed. The conscious mind is the computer keyboard. I'm just telling it to do things. It doesn't really matter how hard I pound my keys. If the programming in my computer is faulty, the computer won't know what to do. So if we want the computer to be more effective, we have to fix and change the programming. And that's all we need to do here. We need to fix and change your programming. And we're going to be learning about how to do that over the next few days. In particular, tomorrow, when we do the fixed and growth mindset and limiting beliefs. Really, really, really important stuff. Don't miss it. About how to uncover the faulty programming, go, that's what's wrong, and change it. It's really simple when you know how. And then when we make this change, it has and I don't use this word lightly, a revolutionary effect on your sobriety and on your life. It's revolutionary. This is why I have the life that I have, because of this work that someone else showed me to do. I'm not teaching you anything original here. It's all been out there for a long time. So when who here has made that solemn vow that they're never going to drink again, and they've said it to someone or said it to themselves, I absolutely, oh my God, I swear on my life, I will never drink again. Who said that? That's your conscious mind making that solemn vow. 5%. 5% of you, your rational part, is going, oh my God, that was awful. I'm never doing that again. And you mean it. You're not lying. You mean it. But the problem is your programming is against you, 95%. So if you go on and you don't drink for a few days, but then, I don't know, something happens at work and you're really disappointed, you feel really pissed off, you feel undervalued, and those feelings, and then they trigger those thoughts of, oh my God, nobody really recognizes you. You work so hard and it's not fair. Those are pre-programmed responses from decades ago. Those feelings are very uncomfortable, and your brain looks for an anesthetic. See how that works? Everyone see how that works? So it doesn't matter what you decide in your rational brain. It doesn't matter. We're all of us are slaves to our programming. But we can change it. Good news is we can change it. Change it. Your programming determines the outcome. Who is ready to change their programming? Who wants to do that? And I think Claire said, is it harder for older people? No, that's just a limiting belief. I'm too old to change. That's a limiting belief. And we talk about that, I think it's Wednesday and Thursday. That's just, again, it's belief systems. We're changing. And oh, tomorrow's really, I love it when we do tomorrow. We talk about language and fixed and growth mindset. A lot of this is about changing language. It's not about denying reality. I'm almost 50. There's a lot of things I'm too old to do, but there's also a lot of things that are possible for me. And it's about changing the language. When I change the language, I feel better. Okay, great. Yeah, it's all in neuroscience. Yeah. This isn't like, this stuff isn't woo. It's all quite scientific. And I'm not a scientific person, but this is absolutely the case. Okay, let's go through a few more things. So we create good programs and we create bad programs. Our bad programs are just limiting beliefs. And our subconscious mind is never going to say like, you know, you might want to look at this. I don't think this works very well. It just runs the program. It just runs the program. And our brains develop a filter system to sort through the information. So our subconscious mind can go, oh, this thing, it's like that thing. Oh, this thing, oh, it's like that thing. This thing, you know, it's just like that. Bang, 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 bang. Don't have to think about it. Just have responses. Just have responses. Just have responses. And we have these responses based on stuff in the past. Man shouting equals, I'm not loved. Daddy doesn't love me. I'm not worthy of love. And this is the program your subconscious mind goes to. Somebody shouting, well, that's like when daddy used to shout at you because you really weren't good enough. And this is the reaction we have. Like dominoes going down. When X happens, it means Y. When someone says or does this, it's because of this. And it's all based on our past experience. I remember, so I want to give you an example of when this changes. I remember when I was dating my husband and he was in the middle of doing his PhD and I think we had a date set up for a Friday night. I think we're just going to hang out, actually. I'd maybe go for dinner. I'm not sure. Anyway, he called me about 5 p.m. said, look, I'm really sorry. Can we reschedule? There's this speaker that's come in at the last minute. And I really want to see them because it's really relevant to my PhD, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, sure. Yeah, no problem. All right. You know, we'll figure something out later. And I was like, oh, got a Friday night free. And I'm pretty sure I went to my favorite AA meeting in Cambridge. And I maybe went for coffee and saw my husband, who was my boyfriend, over the weekend. We had a nice time. And it was about this Sunday night that I had this realization that I was having a very different response to one I'd had just a few years earlier. A few years earlier, if I had a boyfriend who canceled plans on me, well, I would have punished them for that. I would have said it was okay, but I wouldn't be okay with it. Like, I can't believe that they would do that to me. And I would have sulked all weekend. I would have been like, yeah, I'm fine. Yeah, no, nothing's a problem. And made them grovel until I felt like they loved me enough again. And I realized that I was no longer having that response to that event. That if that event had happened 5 years earlier, I would have had a very different response. And I realized something inside of me had changed because I didn't feel rejected. I had an appropriate emotional response to the event. Now, if we'd had, I don't know, tickets to Hamilton or something, I would have been pissed off because that would be an appropriate emotional response to that. But we didn't. It was not, it was just hanging out. It wasn't anything. I didn't create a story about it. That he canceled plans with me last minute meant something about me and our relationship. That's how we get stuck in our story. We do that tomorrow, by the way. And that's when I realized something, and it just happened. I didn't think about it. I didn't consciously think about that. That was programming in my subconscious mind. Like, oh, that's a shame. Okay. What could I do instead? Oh, I'll do that. That I had a very different response to someone canceling plans to me, a boyfriend canceling, than I did in the past. And I knew something had changed. Does that make sense? And that will happen to you if you do this work. My clients frequently say this. It's like they'll just kind of go along and something will happen. And then they'll kind of go, oh my God. And then this happened, Veronica. And I was totally okay with it. Like, it wasn't a big deal. We just kind of dealt with it. Whereas before, oh my God, it would be this huge thing. And there'd be like a drama and arguments. That just didn't happen. I just felt completely different. That is when you know the programming in your subconscious mind has changed. Who has these kind of intense feelings flare up over these seemingly trivial things? Okay, Thomas just said, what about how stuck you are in the story and still intellectually understand what it really is? Does it ever feel better? Abandonment and rejection. Again, Thomas, you're using your conscious mind. You're rationally, a lot of us understand, like, we'll have that moment where we're like, this is ridiculous. Like, I'm being silly. That's your rational mind, your 5%. It doesn't matter. You've got to change the programming in the 95% of your in your programming, and you can't think your way to change. You can't think it. It's a practice, and I'm going to go over all of that. So we need to change our programming. We're wrapping up in a second. I'm going to give you guys the homework question. Not being able to manage our feelings and emotions is why we drink, and why you are getting what you get. Your current feelings are linked to programming in your subconscious mind. Have I made that clear? We need to change our programming. The most important work of your life is finding out what is in your subconscious mind. That is the most important work of your life. Your subconscious mind only knows what you have programmed it to do. It's just like a computer. We give it instructions, but things mess up and we have bugs and viruses. It doesn't do what we want. You cannot use your conscious mind to change your subconscious mind, which is you can't think your way out of it. You can't think, oh, well, that's, ridiculous. I'm going to think something else. Because remember, the subconscious mind is already offering up a reaction, and it's a sensation. It's emotions that you feel in your body. It feels very real. Fear feels very real. Shame feels very real. Those things feel very real. And then those trigger off thoughts that are all linked to stuff that happened years ago. So we have to have a mindset practice that begins to change that programming. You can't think your way out of it. It's like yelling at your computer when it's not running correctly. We have to use our awareness and proven methods that I'm going to teach you, and we have to do it all consistently. You may want to write this down. That's the secret. We bring our awareness, which is what you're doing right now. You're bringing your awareness to this. We're going to use some proven methods, and we just do it consistently. That's how we do it. We have to get into the subconscious mind and reprogram the faulty programs. Take out the ones that don't work, put in ones that do. It's 2 steps. Deprogram the faulty programs, reprogram the ones that are of service to you. And that's how we get emotional mastery. And this has made the greatest difference in my life. And I want you to leave this training knowing that is possible for you. Please remember, there is nothing special and different about me. I'm just going to teach you the stuff that I did. How was this training so far for everybody? Did this make sense? Are there any quick questions? Don't miss tomorrow. Tomorrow is about how we are stuck in our stories. So we're going to talk about the story that we tell ourselves over and over and over and over again, how we are stuck in our stories. And I'm going to teach you about that and how to change it. Now, today's homework question, I'm going to put it in, there we go, homework. And this will pop up in Facebook. So do it in the Facebook post. Don't just do a random post. You have to be in the Soberful group, and you'll see a post that will come up probably right about now. Homework. What triggers an unbalanced emotional response from you? So for example, is it like a man shouting, or is it people who can't drive? That triggers one in my husband. Is it someone canceling plans? That triggers feelings of being abandoned. Is it what triggers like a really big emotional response to you when you know the event is not warranting that kind of response? So your present response is rooted in your past event. So put that in the Facebook group. Be here tomorrow. I'm just going to look at some of the comments. Yes, someone has said, I can't see the name. A feeling of not important enough, visible, valued when I'm not acknowledged, like in a group when others are validated. I feel anger and negative thoughts of them happens. Yeah, that's a perfect example of that response is linked to something that happened in your past, or several things quite often. that's happened in your past. I'm just looking at questions. Are you all going to be here tomorrow? I'm going to talk about solutions and all the things you can do and all that kind of stuff as well. So same time, same place, same link for tomorrow. Yes, 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 yes. We will need to catch up tomorrow. Yes, 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 yes. Great, thanks. Okay, great. Yeah. And if you can't make them, yeah, you can watch it. You're going to get recording every single day. Every single day you'll get a recording. If you can't make it live, make sure you watch the recording. Wednesday, I have one of my former people who's done my Sober Mindset program. Don't miss her story. It's amazing. Breast cancer survivor, amazing. Don't miss any of this. Okay. And I will see you guys all tomorrow. Thanks for joining me. Take care.